Hello and good morning. Welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Judges chapter 18. In those days, there was no king in Israel, and in those days, the tribe of the Danites sought them an inheritance to dwell in, for unto that day all their inheritance had not fallen unto them among the tribes of Israel. And the children of Dan sent of their family 5 men from their coasts, men of valor from Zorah and from Eshtal, to spy out the land and to search it. And they said unto them, Go, search the land. Who, when they came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, they lodged there. When they were by the house of Micah, they knew the voice of the young man the Levite, and they turned in thither, and said unto him, Who brought thee hither? And what makest thou in this place? And what hast thou here? And he said unto them, Thus and thus dealeth Micah with me, and hath hired me, and I am his priest. And they said unto him, Ask counsel, we pray thee, of God, that we may know whether our way which we go shall be prosperous. And the priest said unto them, Go in peace, before the Lord is your way wherein ye go. Then the 5 men departed, and came to Laish, and saw the people that were therein, how they dwelt careless, after the manner of the Zidonians, quiet and secure, and there was no magistrate in the land that might put them to shame in anything, and they were far from the Zidonians, and had no business with any man. And they came unto their brethren to Zorah and Eshtal, and their brethren said unto them, What say ye? And they said, Arise, that we may go up against them, for we have seen the land, and behold, it is very good. And are ye still? Be not slothful to go, and to enter to possess the land. When ye go, ye shall come unto a people secure, and to a large land. For God hath given it into your hands, a place where there is no want of anything that is in the earth. And there went from thence of the family of the Danites, out of Zorah, and out of Eshtal, 600 men appointed with weapons of war. And they went up and pitched in Kirjathjearim in Judah, wherefore they called that place Manadan unto this day. Behold, it is behind Kirjathjearim. And they passed thence unto Mount Ephraim, and came unto the house of Micah. Then answered the 5 men that went to spy out the country of Laish, and said unto their brethren, Do ye know that there is in these houses an ephod, and a teraphim, and a graven image, and a molten image? Now therefore consider what ye have to do. And they turned thitherward, and came to the house of the young man the Levite, even unto the house of Micah, and saluted him. And the 600 men appointed with their weapons of war, which were of the children of Dan, stood by the entering of the gate. And the 5 men that went to spy out the land went up, and came in thither, and took the graven image, and the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. And the priest stood in the entering of the gate with the 600 men that were appointed with weapons of war. And these went into Micah's house, and fetched the carved image, the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. Then said the priest unto them, What do ye? And they said unto him, Hold thy peace. Lay thine hand upon thy mouth, and go with us, and be to us a father and a priest. Is it better for thee to be a priest unto the house of one man, or that thou be a priest unto a tribe and a family in Israel? And the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod and the teraphim and the graven image, and went in the midst of the people. So they turned and departed, and put the little ones and the cattle and the carriage before them. And when they were a good way from the house of Micah, the men that were in the houses near to Micah's house were gathered together, and overtook the children of Dan. And they cried unto the children of Dan, and they turned their faces, and said to Micah, What aileth thee, that thou comest with such a company? And he said, Ye have taken away my gods which I made, and the priest, and ye are gone away. And what have I more? And what is this that ye say unto me, What aileth thee? And the children of Dan said unto him, Let not thy voice be heard among us, lest angry fellows run upon thee, and thou lose thy life with the lives of thy household. And the children of Dan went their way. And when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back unto his house. And they took the things which Micah had made, and the priest which he had, and came unto Laish, unto a people that were at quiet and secure. And they smote them with the edge of the sword, and burnt the city with fire. And there was no deliverer, because it was far from Zidon, and they had no business with any man. And it was in the valley that lieth by Betharab. And they built a city and dwelt therein. And they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan their father, who was born unto Israel. Howbeit, the name of the city was Laish at the first. And the children of Dan set up the graven image. And Jonathan the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. And they set them up Micah's graven image, which he made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh. The co-pilot is so annoying. So, okay. So to summarize Judges chapter 18, so there is no king in Israel, and the tribe of Dan wants an inheritance. So we learn in Joshua chapter 19 that Dan was given an inheritance. But by the time we get to Judges chapter 1, this is detailing the different tribes and the people that are natives in the Canaanite land that Israel failed to drive out, or they could not, they did not. So, what happened with Dan? The people that were natives on that land were very fierce, the Amorites, and they pressed Dan into a certain small area. And so, the reason why uh, Dan was able to succeed in this area was because of the hand of the house of Joseph. So when we look back, so Joseph's two sons are Ephraim and Manasseh. So the house of Joseph is talking about those two tribes. In verse 22, they were so intimidating that they just went up to a man and just said, "Hey, show us how to get into your city and we'll give you mercy." And that's all they said. And they were intimidating enough for the man to give him, give these men directions to get into the city in exchange for mercy. So that was the position Dan was in. When we get to, I want to say Judges chapter 12. So we have Jephthah in Judges chapter 11. So we learn here in chapter 11 that, I'm trying to find the area, 300 years. Because the reason why I'm pausing, this incident that is being described in this paragraph happened in the book of Numbers. So at this point, Judges chapter 11, it's been 300 years. Well, the point that I'm trying to make is there's been an extensive period of time since Israel was given their land, and then in Judges chapter 1, when they've been pressed into a specific area and they were relying on another tribe, Joseph, to keep them to where they were able to survive and not be overtaken. So now we get here to Judges chapter 18. This tribe of Dan, they don't have their own place to live. So that, just with that information. So the tribe of Dan, they send out 5 men to survey areas to see where they can settle. They end up finding Micah's house and staying there. And so they recognize the Levite priest that he hired in the previous chapter. And they ask him, like, why are you here? And the priest explains that Micah made a deal with him to pay for his life if he would be their, his priest. And so these 5 men that were spies for Dan, they asked the priest, "Hey, could you give us a word? Let us know if we'll be successful." The priest tells them that they will. So the 5 men leave. They report back to the other people of Dan, and they tell them there's a quiet area that's unsuspecting, And because they don't deal with anyone, it would be easier to take over this area. So the tribe of Dan gets ready to take over this area. But they decided, let's stop at Micah's house. And they stop there so they can get that priest. And it was 600 armed men. When they went up to Micah's house, the priest asked them, "What are you doing?" The people of Dan, these 600 armed men, told the priest, "Shut your mouth. Come with us and be a priest. It would be better for you to be a priest to a lot of people than priest to one man." And the priest's heart was glad. The priest himself took Micah's items that he had in a shrine and went along with the tribe of Dan. So the people of Dan turned and were preparing to leave out of the area. And as they were traveling away and they got a good distance, the men in the houses near Micah called out, and they began to overtake the people of Dan, I guess confront the people of Dan who, just kind of came in their neighborhood disruptive with 600 people armed. And so then the people of Dan, who just bogarted his stuff and took the priest, they turned around and they asked Micah, like, what's wrong? Why are the people acting out like this? And Micah responds, you took my things and you took the priest. And then you're asking me what's the matter? The people of Dan, to respond, said, okay, so don't let us hear you talking like that, lest angry fellows fall upon you and you lose your life, along with your household. And then Dan went away after that. Micah saw that the 600 armed men were too strong for him, so he went back home. Verse 27. The people of Dan went to that city with the people quiet and unsuspecting, and smote them with the edge of the sword and burned the city with fire. Then they rebuilt the city, named it Dan after their ancestor, and set up the images or the items that they took from Micah. And then it says, Jonathan, who is the son of Gershom, son of Moses, and his sons were the priests to the tribe of the Danites, until the day of the captivity. So the Gershom is a tribe of Levi. I'm not quite sure if Jonathan is the same Levite priest that was involved in this stuff, but this is the man who's now the priest. (31) They set up the images that they got from Micah, those items, as long as the house of God was at Shiloh. That's what I read. All the time the house of God was in Shiloh. So this is sort of like, in spite of God's house being in Shiloh, they still are setting up these carved images that God specifically forbade them from doing. But again, because there's some parts of that religion that's getting lost in translation, certain things are being upheld as important. And now we're starting to see some of these Canaanite beliefs get mixed in. And now that's going to get saved in history as if that's something that was always there when these people were operating out of disobedience. All right, so that's all we have for this chapter. The next chapter, Judges chapter 19, is pretty disturbing. So we'll have to get ready. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.